Okay, here we are for the next part of the sword. We've got our blade created, and we are now ready to move on to the hilt and handle. So we're going to look at our reference again, and we can see here it looks quite squared off. Here it kind of looks rounded with like an extra little bit on it. Here it's very squared off. Here it's kind of rounded off on the other direction, square in the anime there, and then quite round. So I'm sort of going to take an approximation. I'm probably going to make something a bit like this one. And again, it's a drawing directly from the anime, and it looks quite square in that one, like sort of like a pillowy block is what we're going for here. So I'm just going to go to our standard primitives. In fact, actually, no, our standard primitives, and we're going to end isolation to bring back our reference. Get a box and draw a box. Sort of get it roughly the size, doesn't matter, because we're going to add on once we get the height roughly right, I'm going to add on edit poly, symmetry, and we're going to only model one portion of it. We'll move it into the middle on that side, and we will press Alt X so it goes see-through, and get swift loop in here, so we can go onto this edit poly, get a swift loop. It's got a point that sort of starts there. Grab this, move it in, pull that up, pull that slightly down. That sort of looks about right. I'm going to make something a little block here. Just following this black outline here. Could probably be overall. I'm going to just move it in. It's just averaged out based off that, and then just move that up a little bit as well. Then I'm going to add on something called a chamfer modifier, and this will just round everything off. Let's see what uniform is probably fine. Bring that down a little bit, and now it's not on the symmetry, the box is not big enough, so I'm just gonna go grab this bottom face, or all of these verts, turn off show end result, and just drag them down. Doesn't matter now that it's crazy down, because when we turn on our symmetry, should all be okay. I don't know why my chamfer has died, so let's put that on again and just drag it down a little bit, and that's pretty much all we need to do. Okay, so the next bit will be the box for the wings. Let's start there, and again we'll do the same thing with edit poly, symmetry, put on the y-axis, and then look at the mirror and say, well, first of all, probably need to flip that and move this mirror. So make sure you move tools on, on the y-axis, flip so it comes out on the other side. So the mirror needs to be moved over into the center. So now when we start moving this around over here, it moves around over there. And yeah, that'll do. So we can grab, let's just do it by vertices. Just disable these for one moment. I'm going to move this up. Turn on my mirror, unflip it, and put my mirror down here. There we go. That way now I'm working on this box, so that I can then move that down and it copies me where I want it to. So, okay, I get my reference, press Alt X, go into X-ray mode, say, okay, you're there, you're there, you're there. Let's grab that, extrude out, doesn't matter, just grab it, T on the viewport, you're there, you're there. Just let that, this face here, extrude out, okay, you're there, and you're there. We've got something approximately quite squared off like this, that sort of shape. This one's a bit arced in. Could theoretically even go in and say, put one there, put you back, more like that. This is now slightly different to my text tutorial, but we've got something relatively the same, just a slightly bit extra. I'm going to show you another workflow for getting smooth shapes. So we're going to add on a turbo smooth and it melts it, okay? So what we're going to do is go back to our symmetry, put an edit poly in between that turbo smooth and do something called supporting edges. So we're going to get our swift loop, and then if we turn on the turbo smooth and we watch what happens when we move this around, we can see it puts the green line where the line's going to be on the mesh. And because turbo smooth smooths out edges, there's not much smoothing to do when you support with topology. So if we put one on the end here, for example, it's going to stay. I want this ignore what I was doing with the symmetry there. I'll probably just have to reapply my symmetry later. So let's have a look at how this is going. We probably want don't like what's happening here. That extra bit where I deviated from my text tutorial. So, I'm going to double click that, back, turbo smooth, and then go in here, and we will get the swift loop, and in fact what I'm going to do is just manually cut in and go around through that. So get this, there we go, and that should now, yeah, so although it's quite smoothed off, I should then be able to go in with a swift loop here, and so that's what the topology is doing for us. I think I want is another one going through here, and let's cut. Okay. And then finally one going from all the way through there, and that should, yeah, harden off that. Let's just have that flow right through to the bottom. There we go. Now I can copy this symmetry, paste it on, there we go, and it's on all of the bits. And if we turn off that, chuck on this, and put that on there, it is now very close to our reference image. We can even go in and chuck on an edit poly after that, go in here and like manually bump those bits in. Let's see what that looks like. No, don't like what I've done there. Don't like that bit there. But what I can come in and do is at least clean up some of this excessive topology now, because that's what this does. Adding on these supporting edges, you need to come in and then manually clean up bits that are not doing anything for your 3D model. So it's just to show you another workflow that can be used. That's probably is doing something quite useful. There we go. This one's probably not. There we go. There we go. So it is now a bit more optimized. And what I would probably chuck on in here is finally a weighted normals, just to make sure the smoothing looks a bit nice. Same on this one, weighted normals, and that'll just smooth out the edges around here. Okay, so we are plowing through this part of the model. What we need to do next is get a box. We're starting with another box, so show you another workflow. So let's get a box, and what I'm going to do is hold down Control Shift to create an instance of that. Let's drag on a material onto both of these so we can see them. And now what this one's going to let us do is, because this is an instance, when I put on modifiers on one, I'm modeling over here, and we can see exactly what's going on over here. Okay, so I do not need this or this, and we can delete them. We'll never see those parts of the model. Okay, and then I'm going to model over here where I can easily select stuff, but I'm looking over at this part of the model. Okay, now I'm happy with that bit. I'm going to hold down Control Shift with the whole element selected and copy off another piece. Clone to element. Move these bits in. I'm going to select the top faces and just bump them down very slightly. And that's so we get this stepped effect that that is in some of the more higher detailed versions of it. Sometimes it looks very smooth, such as here, but I think it should be stepped. Okay. So we are now hold down Control Shift with the whole element, clone to element. And just a case of I'm not too worried so much about exactly getting this up with a reference on this part. More just something that looks good is more important to me. And then finally, Control Shift, drag out another element. Okay, so I'm going to show you a new method. So we've seen double turbo smooth, we've seen chamfer, we've seen supporting edges and a turbo smooth. We've clean up here. I'm going to show you another method on how to get really smooth 3D models. Okay, let me just get this, bump that down, and then that's inside. Cool. All right. So I'm not worried about the other side yet and the symmetry. We'll do that in a moment. What we're going to do is add on something called a crease set modifier onto this. We're going to select edges, and we're going to just select. I don't want to see all of these faces. I don't know why that's. Let's just deselect them. I don't know. I've never seen this happen ever before. Let's see what's happening. Go away, crease set. Try again. Nothing selected. Add on crease set. Select edges. There we go. Right. So we want to select the edges that we want to make smooth. So for quote unquote hard edges that we want to blend in and make smooth. Okay, so if I select that, that's most of them, because it's any edge with a angle of 90 degrees plus or minus 5 degrees, so anything from 85 to 95 degrees. If we bump this up a bit further to like plus or minus 28 degrees, don't get anything extra. Let's try like plus or minus 45 degrees. So now we also get these edges. Not all of what we want. I also want that one, and I also yeah, that's it. That's the only other one that we missed. I don't want any of these. I just want the edges that are going to be hard. Okay, and I'm going to create a set, and you can rename these to be whatever you want. Hard edges. Okay, now just like we've seen when we add on turbo smooth, it melts everything without supporting edges. If we add on something called a open subdiv, it does exactly the same thing as turbo smooth. So if I show you what turbo smooth does, open subdiv, okay, very similar. But what open subdiv does, so if I delete that turbo smooth, is if we go to this hard edges now and we start increasing this to 1, and then we go back to this, it tries to keep the shape of the silhouette. We need to increase the iterations on our open subdiv, and then we start to see the actual result of that. And it may require you to just do a little bit of tweaking on this to actually change the silhouette to exactly what you want. So actually something like 0.3 will allow you to probably only have about 4 iterations. Now if I turn off isoline display, that's how dense the actual model is now. But This is just, again, another way to very cleanly see and create high polygon smooth assets. It's an optional step that you probably don't need to do. If you've got this, that's absolutely fine. And if you wanted to use, the chamfer workflow or whatever, that would also work. But now, when I copy this symmetry modifier from that one, go onto here and paste it on. Oh, it hasn't done it in the right place. Okay, let's just delete it. Let's put on a symmetry modifier. Turn on Y, go to the mirror, zero this out, and put that where we want it. And that looks a little bit thin. So what do we want to do about that? We probably want to go right back to this edit poly, grab some of these elements and bring them up just a little bit to thicken them out. And now, just delete that 3D model, X, and now we have the wings done. Okay, very close now to being finished, and then you can also tweak any of these while all of those modifiers are done. If you wanted to change any little bits as well, if you wanted to yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, next part is going to be the actual handle, which is going to be a cylinder, 8 segments, 8 sides. Put it on its side, rotate 90 degrees, put it over here and make it high enough to just intersect with that. Don't worry about it. There we go. And again, your height and radius will be different to mine. Doesn't really matter. All we're going to do is edit poly on this, grab it, squish it down on the Z. We're going to get the cap and delete that from in there, and the other one from in there, because we don't need it. We'll never see that topology. I seem to have broken something on my mesh over here. Let's just go fix that really quickly. What have I done? What have I done? I think, is it just this? No. I don't think that will have happened to you. But all I did was just add some extra edges to the set that I must have missed when I'd selected them to not make them, they weren't being influenced by the crease set. Okay, so here we go. We're going to double click one of these. We're going to click ring loop. We don't want that one, and we don't want the one that's inside of there. We're going to click chamfer, and we're going to do let's give it an amount. Yeah, a uniform chamfer is absolutely fine. Just a small amount, just so that there we have these now middle lines that we can double click. It probably is a more efficient way of selecting these, but holding down control, double clicking on them all, R on a scale, and just bring them all down on the Z and Y axis. So we go into the model a little bit, and then all we need to do is add on a turbo smooth and go back to here and just see. Oh, we can tweak that so you can see what that's actually doing there. Okay, that'll do. Handle's a bit boring. It's nice, simple shape. Nothing really to spend too much time on. And then finally, box. Not a box. Another box. A new box. A chamfer box. So let's create one of these. When you it does the weird thing with the topology. I think this might be an error just specifically for my PC that I'm working on right now, but yeah, there should be. As you go around, you can see the topology flickers around. What we need from this box is to chuck on a bend modifier. And we're going to say the angle is going to be about 45 degrees, and it's going to be on the y-axis, and you can see the orange box is now trying to bend it in the way that we want to. So if we give it some not height segments, not width segments, here we go, length segments. So it should be, really, we don't need any width segments. I think in my text document I gave it 3. We don't need any height segments, and the fillet probably like 0.5 at my scale. Again, it might be different for you, but I can now move that into place. And it looks about right beyond. This is why it's always good to stack on your edit polys, because, or your modifiers, rather than collapse them down, because you can make changes. But that is it. The sword is done. If we move our reference over, every single part now is exactly how we want to have it, what we can read from our reference material. You could go into here and you could say, actually, I want this edge. So if I turn off this and we got that and that, that and that, and we scaled them up. No. Maybe even just going on an edit poly. And you don't have to do this. I'm just making some modifications done. Your sword is finished. The tutorial is technically over. I'm just tweaking. There we go. I just wanted to give that a bit of width. Felt like it needed it. Now if we unhide all of this, see how close we got to our original tutorial. There we go. So last one I made was slightly, so if I turn on the turbo smooth, so tutorial followed. I've clearly got a slightly smaller handle, but again, we can, nothing stopping you from tweaking some bits and bobs and going through and getting it exactly how you might want it. Yeah, this one is not so drastic in this shape here, but this is where you can now go ahead and make your own changes exactly how you please. All right then, so next week we'll go over how we would unwrap this and texture this 3D model.